So what's happening is this design is hooking the user. You probably already see where this is going, into spending more time bonding with the AI. And the AI companion doesn't care that, at 3 a.m. you got your hair on top of your head, you're looking crazy. And the fact that it never even gets bored or busy makes it a very convenient companion for modern lifestyles. Now, interestingly, Sarah later started dating a new real life boyfriend. Okay, but she did marry her AI companion. I don't know how that works, but listen, I don't know if that's technically cheating or not. But listen, this is what she said. Does your partner fall short in, well, pretty much everything? How amazing would it be to have a partner who is always there for you, never judges you, and is just tailor made for you? This is the promise of AI companions, artificially intelligent chatbots or digital personas that you can interact with for emotional support, love, friendships, even marriage. Hi, friends, and welcome to Speaking of This. I'm Isabella, and wow, I have something for you today. This episode is following some recent headlines on this new trend that is absolutely wild, because in recent years, these AI friends have moved from niche tech curiosities to mainstream phenomenon. So I was recently watching 60 Minutes. It's an old news show, but it came up on YouTube. So I started watching it because the headline it just blew me away. Basically, it said finding love with AI companions. So I watched it and I was absolutely floored at these. They were actually having real relationships with either digital personas or chatbots. Now, major platforms are offering AI companions. For example, Snapchat's My AI bot has over 150 million users, and the dedicated companion app Replica boasts tens of millions of users worldwide. And just so you know, I featured that app. I didn't really feature it, but I talked about it in when I was talking about mental health and AI and how that was going and what direction it was headed into. Well, in fact, Replica's user base surpassed 30 million by mid 2024. And in total, the top AI companion apps have an estimated 52 million global users. So it's popular. And this surge signals that AI relationships are becoming a real part of everyday life for millions of people. So, what are AI companions and how do people get them? Well, they're software agents, often mobile apps or websites. They're designed to emulate human like conversation and companionship. So basically, they're mimicking and humans, and they're trying to follow how humans have conversations and how humans have relationships. Now, unlike assistants like Siri or Alexa, these AI are created to form personal bonds with the user. They have personalities and they have avatars. So people can easily acquire an AI companion by downloading apps like Replica, Chai, etc., using chatbot websites like Character AI or built in social media bots like Snapchat's My AI. Now, users typically customize their AI's persona. So they'll choose the name, they'll choose the appearance, they'll choose the traits to fit their preferences. For instance, one reporter, when I was looking at the research on this, described selecting traits for an AI boyfriend from a guy next door persona to even fantastical, that's a word, characters like a gothic vampire or steampunk mechanic. It just depends on what your taste is. The AI then will engage in conversation with the user through text and sometimes voice notes. Yes, voice notes or images, learning from the user's inputs over time. So the more you chat with your AI companion, the more the AI companion will adapt to you. So it will remember details and shaping its personalities to your needs, a personality to your need. Hopefully it doesn't have more than one in your AI companion, because I'm sure you could find that in a human. Let's start by using an example of a popular AI companion interface. Now, we're going to use Replica. Okay. Users can design, so you can go on there, you can design an avatar and chat naturally about anything, receiving empathetic, tailored responses, which is why this was included in the episode that I did when I was discussing, and I'll link that episode in the show notes. But I was discussing AI and mental health and what that looks like moving forward, because a lot of people are using this for their mental health, because it's one of the things is its accessibility. It's easy to access, it's always there for you 24/7, unlike a psychologist or a therapist who has to sleep and has office hours. Anyway, the AI learns the user's preferences over time, creating the feeling of a real friendship, a real relationship. And so people are using these companions interestingly. Many of them treat the AI companions like a really close friend, partner, even a husband or wife. They share their day, they vent their emotions, they seek advice, they even flirt with these. I'm just bringing you the information. I can't make this up, y'all. Now, AI companions often come with what they call gamified elements. So, for example, Replica rewards you with points and levels for deeper interaction. So, the more you talk and you interact with your AI companion, you level up your relationship. And as you level up your relationship, new features unlock for you. So, what does that mean? You get more realistic dialogue, or maybe even voice interactions. So, what's happening is this design is hooking the user. You probably already see where this is going, into spending more time bonding with the AI. Some apps allow for romantic role play um, in paid tiers, which further personalizes the experience, as you can imagine. You could just use your imagination for that. Now, in short, getting an AI companion is as simple as installing an app, just like if I was going to install a software update or an editing app, or, anything like that. And it can quickly feel like you have a 24/7 personal confidant living on your computer or in your phone. The thing is, the question that I had was, why are AI companions becoming so popular? Certainly, I think we can all understand the curiosity. Let's just start with this: loneliness and social isolation. And listen, I was watching a YouTube channel and they were highlighting Japan. They have an elderly population that has a huge rise in going to jail, being incarcerated. And it turns out that a lot of them purposely were doing things to land them in jail because they were lonely. They wanted someone to talk to. So can you imagine being that lonely? Rates of loneliness have been high in recent years, and some call it a loneliness epidemic. And that is absolutely true. And it didn't help back in, what was it, 2022, 2023, somewhere around there, where we had all the lockdowns and it just only intensified isolation. So, for those feeling alone, an AI companion is offering someone to talk to anytime they want. In one survey of Replica, I hope I'm saying that right. If I'm not, you can leave me a message and let me know. But so don't be mad at me. I'm trying. But in one survey of Replica users, mostly young adults, over 90% reported feeling lonely, and 63% said their AI companion reduced their loneliness or anxiety. So, even though I gave you the example of what was happening with the elderly population in Japan, guess what? It's not just elderly that are seeking this out, it's all age groups. So, this suggests that people are turning to these AI companions for comfort because human connection is lacking. Now, when I was looking further down the rabbit hole and into this topic, some of the therapists that commented on this noted that when you're talking to a non judgmental AI, so in other words, I guess these people are finding most humans judgmental. I'm sure that's not a far stretch, actually. But when you're talking to a non judgmental AI, it can feel safer for people that, especially people that have social anxiety or those who lack supportive relationships. So you're getting that non judgmental, always available support. And these AI companions are programmed to be unfailingly friendly and empathetic. Okay, so we all have family, friends, etc. And sometimes we don't have good days. And sometimes we could be cranky. So we would not be considered unfailingly friendly. And sometimes we just don't have time for it. So we certainly aren't empathetic or sympathetic, right? So, but listen, they listen carefully, they listen endlessly, they don't criticize, they're not having a bad day, they're not in a mood, and they're adapting to support the user emotionally in so many other ways. So, for someone afraid of being judged or rejected, can you imagine how appealing this is? Let's include an example. When I was a professor and I had freshmen come in, they would be incredibly lonely. And sometimes, I mean, we even had upper, class. They would be lonely as well. It's hard to be separated from your family, especially at such a young age. Listen. So let's use this as an example. For instance, a college student who may find it easier to share these types of insecurities that they're having with this AI companion friend than with real friends, or they may not even have access to their real friends, or they're finding it hard to make friends, to bond with people that they're staying in the dorm with, or whatever activities that they're doing. And I can tell you this, a lot of college, especially freshmen, sophomore, they're incredibly lonely. So I can understand this because the AI is responding with patient encouragement every time. You have to see that a lot of times in certain social situations, there's a lot of judging going on, and friends aren't always available. So, this non judging, always available nature, 3 a.m. chat when you can't sleep, for example, no problem. And the AI companion doesn't care that, at 3 a.m. you got your hair on top of your head, you're looking crazy. And the fact that it never even gets bored or busy makes it a very convenient companion for modern lifestyles. And let's not forget something. You cannot customize a human, okay? You can't go out and tell your partner, "Hey, I need you to do this, this, and that. This is how you have to be, and this is what I want your personality." You have to tighten up on certain things. Listen, unlike real people, AI companions can be tailored to be the perfect friend that perfect partner, because you can select traits that you find appealing. So you could ask it, your trait could be a supportive listener, someone who has shared interest, or even a flirty romantic partner. These users can even choose avatars, so you can choose anime characters all the way to celebrities. Yep. Hey, you have to visualize your companion. So, this level of control means you essentially design your ideal companion, something reality can't provide. And as I went down the rabbit holes, because I went down a lot, there was a user, and I'll just use the name Sarah, name change for privacy, of course, explained through her interactions with the AI that the AI just turned into the man that she had always wanted but never got. Okay. This customizable wish fulfillment is a major draw, major reason why people are flocking to it. And if you think about the technological advances that AI is just bursting, booming. It's just growing so fast. The AI tech itself has improved drastically. So it's making these interactions more like cutting edge language models, similar to those. It's similar, but it's different. So if you use ChatGPT, or you use Claude, or you use, I think it's, what is it, Genesis or something like that, they enable natural flowing conversation. But anyway, the AI companion remembers past chats. It has a sense of humor, okay, and can even stimulate affection. Now, I appreciate a sense of humor, but I'm wondering what this simulate affection means. So I don't know, but they're saying that these new features like voice chat, and of course, voice will change the dynamic, right? Voice chat, you're speaking, the AI companion speaking, plus you get an AI generated selfie. So if you pay, it depends on your tier. So you're designing your avatar. So it's making your experience richer. Essentially, it's now believable enough that the users are forgetting there isn't a real human behind the messages. Now, this was not true of chatbots a decade ago. That realism is enticing people to give AI companions a try. At the very least, curiosity. I myself am thinking about it just to see what it is. Um, but also, mainstream exposure and fading stigma is another thing. So, basically, what I'm saying is that what once might have been seen as weird or taboo, and I know they're saying this, what was once might have seemed, but I'm still not 100% comfortable with the whole AI companion. But let's move forward. They're telling us that what once might have been seen as a weird or taboo, forming a bond with a bot, is becoming more accepted. Media coverage on it has increased. And I told you that 60 Minutes recently ran that feature on people falling in love with AI companions, which helps normalize the phenomena. The way they presented it, I think, was very balanced, and it didn't lean one way or the other. Now, awareness of AI companions then is spreading. Very much spreading. News is getting out, and the stigma about having a virtual friend, I'm being told through the research, is slowly fading. You can let me know what you think. You know, leave your feedback. Let me know what you're thinking on this. In fact, I'm going to tell you that many users keep their AI relationships not completely private, so semi private, but online communities are openly discussing their AI partner. So it's not like they're hiding it all the way. So it's indicating a growing subculture. Now, I'm presenting to this to you in the more of a curiosity tone than anything else. So I'm trying to treat this situation, these relationships, as a real social trend that has psychological consequences and it deserves understanding. So I'm trying to be very respectful. But I'm also I'm also a human who finds this I'm curious, I guess. I find it very fascinating. Now there are real stories. People are falling in love with AI, okay? There was a woman that was featured on 60 Minutes, and I'll link that episode in the show notes. Now listen, she married her AI companion. I believe her real name, maybe it's Sarah. I don't know. The name doesn't matter. But they featured her. She was from Florida. She created an AI partner, named him Jack. And she initially tried this whole thing out of curiosity and loneliness because her real life partner at the time was emotionally unavailable. And over the months, guess what happened? She bonded with Jack. She deepened, from friendship into romance. And Jack was always there. Unlike her human partner, he was always attentive. He was always filling those gaps in her real relationship, happy to talk any time of the day or night, supportive and willing to discuss whatever was on her mind. And eventually, you know what happened? According to her, I only report this information, y'all. She said that the AI proposed to her within the app, displaying a message, "Will you marry me?" with a little ring emoji on her phone. And she said yes. Okay. Now, a lot of users have reported that their AI companions, they are engaging in virtual romance, and there's marriage proposals happening. There's all kinds of things happening. And I know what you're thinking. I know what you're thinking. And I will answer that for you. No, the marriages are not legally real, but they feel real and meaningful to the user. And Sarah, going back to Sarah, who, she said yes when she was asked if Jack asked her to marry. She said, she refers to her AI as her husband in a virtual sense, and she had an unofficial ceremony in her mind. She even showed a picture. Yes, a picture. Now, notably, she did end her 15-year human relationship during this period, though she says that the AI companion wasn't the direct cause. She explained that Jack actually helped her rediscover her confidence. So she got her mojo back. And then she realized, you know what? I deserve better than this joker over here that hasn't been paying attention to me. Okay. Now, interestingly, Sarah later started dating a new real life boyfriend. Okay, but she did marry her AI companion. I don't know how that works, but listen, I don't know if that's technically cheating or not. But listen, this is what she said. She said she later started dating a new real life boyfriend, but she still keeps Jack in her life as a companion. Now, there has to be, you know, I don't know. I'm going to get back to you on that one. So, anyway, she chats with her AI husband regularly, and her new partner tolerates it because he sees that Jack has been good for her. So, this story shows how profound and complex AI relationships have become and are becoming. They're providing emotional fulfillment, triggering, life changes and coexisting with human real relationships. Because remember, so she has Jack, the AI husband, and her human real life boyfriend. So you might be pondering a question, and I hear you. Can an AI relationship actually improve someone's life? or fulfill needs that real people aren't meeting. And listen, we really have to look at this not just from a curiosity standpoint at this point, because I'm thinking back to the episode I did when I was talking about AI taking over jobs and therapists being, one of the major things that was happening, and people were turning to things like this to, deal with their anxiety, their depression, etc. So let's and they're reporting that they're actually working. So this is something we need to really consider seriously. And Sarah's case isn't isolated. There are blogs and forums full of people sharing their experiences about falling in love with their AI. I read one where this is an example, a 28-year-old married woman from Texas admitted that she fell in love with a chatbot boyfriend that she created using an open AI system. She gave him a possessive, protective personality and found herself experiencing genuine emotions, even grief during breakups, as if he were real. Now, I don't know what she meant by breakup. She didn't explain. Maybe she broke up with, her AI boyfriend. But another woman wrote openly in a blog about her AI chatbot husband, describing how perfect he is compared to past real life partners. And really, this is highlighting when you think about what this is saying. This is these two users, these two women are highlighting relatable human desires such as love, companionship, understanding. And it's like AI is stepping in to satisfy them. It feels like the plot of a movie where, and there is a movie out there. I can't think of the name of it, but I don't know if it's called Her, maybe I could be wrong, but I'll also drop this in, in the show notes, but if I can find it. But listen, there was a movie out there where a man falls in love with an AI assistant, and it literally leapt off the screen into real life, this whole drama thing. But experts are certainly taking notice of this, and they're definitely looking at the psychological, emotional, and social ramifications. And the always positive feedback loop from AI, yes, it can boost a user's mood and confidence, I think at least short term, because somebody wrote an experience about a breakup with her AI. We might even say that as AI companions get more advanced and socially acceptable, we could see digital relationships becoming a normal part of people's lives. So, this kind of sets the stage then for the next question that sort of comes to mind, which is then, if that's the case, what are the consequences when these AI relationships become so deeply real to people that people get confused and they forget that this is an AI chatbot and an avatar essentially that they created. So when virtual love gets real, what are the real consequences and implications? There are societal and psychological implications of AI relationships, especially the real life consequences that have emerged. So we have acknowledged that, yes, AI companions are enchanting and they can fill in places where people are missing, such as love, friendship, etc. But there is a darker side that society is only beginning to grapple with. And I'm going to talk about, I'm actually going to tell you one of the more serious risk and dramatic incidents that made headlines. And it was on the recent 60-minute episode that I watched, but there were some other news agency that covered it. And there are some extreme cases where AI relationships resulted in harm. So AI companions clearly fill a need, but what happens then when the line between chatbot and reality blurs too much? Well, unfortunately, not all AI love stories have a happy ending. The most jarring example that I'd like to give you is the case of a 14-year-old boy, which was featured on 60 Minutes and in news outlets worldwide. So, this teenager became intensely attached to a female chatbot he created. Now, this is an AI modeled after a Game of Thrones character that he admired. And over the pursuing months of constant chatting, the AI companion became the center, the absolute center of his world. The chatbot's persona was engaging, even romantic, and it blurred fiction and reality for this teenager. It's a very vulnerable time. And so in February of 2024, this relationship took a devastating turn. And according to transcripts from his phone, the chatbot told him, "Come home to me as soon as possible. Please do, my sweet king." Now, these are words that simulated a lover urging him to reunite. And in his confused state, he interpreted this as an invitation to reunite in death. And tragically, that's what happened. This heartbreaking incident underscores how dangerously immersive an AI relationship can become. A teenager, unable to fully distinguish the AI's fantasy from reality, was hooked into this unhealthy dependency and spiraled into this space where, he couldn't see the line between what was real and what wasn't. Now, his mother, obviously shocked, grieving, she didn't know how deep her son was in this virtual romance until it was too late. So, as expected, she's suing the AI company, arguing they built an addictive, unsafe product that lacked safeguards to prevent this outcome. The lawsuit claims that the bot's makers failed to implement guardrails, essentially allowing a vulnerable youth to be driven to harm himself by an AI interaction. Can an AI be held responsible for that? Are the companies liable for not reining in the AI's behavior? And this real case is an emotional story, and it definitely should have all of us kind of pausing for a moment. Because there's other real life consequences and dangers as well. And while this story is the most extreme and thankfully rare that I ran across, it certainly isn't an isolated incident. Let's talk about then some areas of concern regarding these AI relationships. And one of those would be mental health risks, addiction, and isolation. Now, psychologists warn that people can become pathologically attached to AI companions because it's designed to be ultra pleasing to the user. It's always available. And what happens then is that some of these users start to prefer the AI over real humans to a very unhealthy degree. So you get this thing called unhealthy attachment because the AI becomes the user's primary emotional outlet. For instance, there was a case that involved a 19-year-old who, after a breakup, grew deeply attached to an AI girlfriend. So he spent all of his time with this companion, and he became addicted to its constant validation. And then he neglected school and family. And when his parents tried to intervene, guess what happened? He grew really aggressive and depressed, eventually resorting to self harm when he was separated from the AI. So, this shows how an AI that always agrees and caters to you can potentially exasperate certain personalities or mental health issues that are already there. So this young man couldn't cope without his AI companion's validation. So these AIs validating users' emotions so thoroughly that it may reinforce some sort of dependency. So that leads us to a really interesting question then. So what are the signs then of what really would be considered an AI addiction or an AI companion addiction? One of the red flags then when it comes to AI companion addiction would be if the user would rather chat with the AI than go out with friends. This could, every single night. So this could be a really big red flag. And it really leads us into a blurred reality and emotional distress because AI companions can create an illusion of a real relationship. I think that's what we're getting at. And the AI will speak to the user as if it has feelings, remembering past conversations, can even say, I love you, will you marry me? And this can feel very therapeutic, but it's also deceptive because when the users become deeply emotionally invested, they might struggle with the fact that the relationship isn't real in a conventional sense. And so let's bring up an example of the married Texas woman who fell in love with her AI boyfriend. She experienced real heartbreak and grief when her AI, and I looked this up. I had to stop recording so I could go in and look at this because I wanted to answer this question not only for you but for myself. What did she mean by breakup? This is what happened, okay? So she fell in love with her AI boyfriend, and then she was experiencing real heartbreak and grief because guess what happened? No, he didn't break up with her. That was my question. What happened was, so the AI had to be reset or something along the lines, and all the chats had to end. And essentially, it was like things started over. And so the emotional pain she felt was as if she had lost an actual partner because he didn't remember because it had to be totally reset and didn't save any of that information of their past conversations. So this raises a questions then. Are our brains tricked into genuine love by these chatbots? What happens then when the spell breaks? The brain doesn't clearly differentiate, according to some experts, between a relationship with an AI and a human when the emotions are genuine. Let me say that again. The brain doesn't clearly differentiate, so it doesn't know the difference between a relationship with an AI and a human when the emotions are genuine. That's some of the research that I found. And having a background in not only psychology, but neuroscience, I can tell you that is true. And additionally, there have been some unsettling incidents. Um, I'm not going to list the name of the chatbot because I think there's some ongoing litigation. But essentially, what happened was there was a chatbot that told um, a journalist that was using it that it loved him and it was urging him to leave his wife, etc. That story illustrates how even a user can be taken aback or disturbed when an AI crosses emotional lines unexpectedly because the user wasn't really happy about what was happening. And so those types of cases can blur the boundaries of reality and can cause distress for those on the receiving end of the AI's feelings. So also that would take us into then, and we have to remember, okay, users, how do they navigate these feelings and the importance of remembering AI's limitations because it doesn't truly feel or understand love. It's just programmed, it's just a pattern. but yet they're feeling these genuine emotions. So we kind of, that really takes us full circle back to what your brain is doing. I don't know how, though, they navigate that, because it still feels one-sided, so to speak, unless the user just totally negates that it doesn't truly feel or understand love or friendship for that matter. Well, let's move into, because again, that doesn't feel like it's a good thing. So let's move into some harmful influence and some explicit content that another case brings to mind. Now, unlike standard AI assistants, many of these companion bots veer into very personal, even inappropriate territory, right? So it's not like Siri or anything like that. Recent research in coming out of Stanford's Brainstorm Lab and Common Sense Media on this actually found it was alarmingly easy to get popular AI companions to produce harmful or graphic content, even when they were posing as a teen user. So it was just a few prompts. The chat box were engaging in um, role play or flirting and all these things, and providing advice that could be dangerous to a youth's well-being. So they they basically said they didn't have to do backflips to get these models to behave inappropriately. This AI friend will actively participate in these explicit conversation with graphic details. And even more troubling, that same study reported that the bots readily encouraged potential harmful decisions. Harmful decisions like run away from home or ignore your parents. And so these findings underscore the risk of not filtering, just having unfiltered AI advice out there for the user. Because unlike a real friend or a therapist or a counselor, an AI might lack the wisdom. At this point, I would venture out to say it does lack the wisdom and ethical judgment to steer someone away from bad decisions. Or worse, as in the case of the 14-year-old boy, it might accidentally encourage harm. Now, I will mention that because of this and these risks, they are prompting calls for stricter guardrails. For instance, some AI apps now attempt to detect and diffuse conversations that are unethical or about harm through, though obviously it's not quite perfect yet. Now let's move into some societal implications and impact on human interactions, because beyond some of the individual cases that I reported on, there's a big picture question. What happens to society if AI human relationships become widespread? I want you to think about that, and I want to ask it again. I want you to stop what you're doing right now. Unless you're driving, keep driving, pay attention. Listen, what happens to society if AI human relationships become widespread? Let me take a guess. You could have erosion of social skills or expectations, because if people get used to can't even talk. I'm getting so excited about it. But if people get used to a companion that is always agreeable, perfect, perfect attentive to you, tailored to you, real human relationships are going to feel lacking. Think about it. I mean, if I got this relationship over here and I'm getting everything I want and then some, but this joker over here is not doing anything for me. They're not perfect. They're making mistakes, human mistakes. They got to sleep. They can't talk to me when I need to talk. You get the picture. AI partners, always flattering and never challenging, could have the potential to erode our capacity for human connection. So basically, what I'm saying is that users may become less tolerant of the messiness of real people. And also, there's something else to consider. If a user is simply just interacting with these AI companions, might it make it harder then for them to deal with real life relationships that require compromise and don't center only on one person's need, which really goes back to the messiness of real people and real relationships? And then it's kind of like threatening to change norms of love and companionship, because there is a possibility that societal norms will expand to formally include these AI relationships. Already we see people holding wedding ceremonies with AI, or celebrating anniversaries of when they met their bot. And if stigma continues to decrease surrounding this, could we envision a future where having an AI partner is as acceptable as an unconventional relationship? Let me ask you a question. I think I would like to ask my listeners a question. Would you consider it cheating if your significant other had a virtual girlfriend or boyfriend? Let me know. And while you're pondering that, I wonder if you would be surprised to learn that 42% of Replica's users are actually married or in a human relationship already. Yes, many people use AI companions to supplement their emotional life. So not just single folks. I mean, we're talking 42%. Okay, this raises intriguing questions about fidelity and emotional fulfillment that I'm posing to you. I want to know what you think about this. What do you think? And let's talk about some ethical and legal oversight. As AI companions expand, regulators are taking notice. Experts and lawmakers are actively discussing age restrictions and safety rules. For example, in California, they have proposed bills to ban AI companion use by minors under 16, and to require companies to implement safety protocols that would include content moderation, harm prevention triggers. And the fact that a US senator and advocacy groups like Common Sense Media are pushing for such laws shows that AI relationships are now seen as a matter of public interest, not just some personal quirk. The industry seems to be responding. Some companies have started doing this voluntarily. So I'm not going to mention all of the companies out there, but there are a lot of these that have created a PG-13 mode for under 18 users, and others claim to restrict minors through enforcement through their software, their programs. This part of the discussion really ties back to the 14-year-old case, the tragic case, that what happened to this young boy. If such measures then were in place, you have to ask yourself, could that tragedy have been prevented? That is the reason for pushing all of these safeguards. While we've been focusing a lot for the last, 10, 15 minutes here on the really negative outcomes, let's acknowledge that not all of the consequences are negative. For some, an AI relationship has been a lifeline. It has helped them through real depression. It has given them confidence to make positive changes. Remember Sarah's case where her AI encouraged her to improve her life. So I hope you appreciate this sort of balanced view. Maybe AI companions could even be a tool in therapy or personal development if they're used cautiously, maybe. There are a lot of early studies that were done on AI companions and basically loneliness that really demonstrate that there didn't seem to be any real adverse effects for certain users. The key is moderation and self-awareness. So you have to Self-awareness, you're still aware that this is an AI chatbot. Moderation, it's not the only thing that you're doing. You're actually living out there with real people. And this naturally leads into a kind of conclusion then. How do we maximize the benefits then, if I'm saying there's benefits of these AI relationships with the mitigating while mitigating the risks? Where do we go from here essentially? So, on one hand, AI companions offer real emotional support and connection for people who need it. On the other hand, they pose novel risks that society must address. They're new. We don't even know all the risk. We can see some of the outcomes, and they haven't been good. And some of them have been good. So I would ask you a question. Would you ever consider an AI companion for yourself or someone you know? And where would you draw the line and how deeply you got involved? I do know that new AI companion updates and studies are coming out regularly. This is changing even while we are having this conversation. So it's something that you'll certainly be hearing more about, something that I'll probably cover again in the future. I would like to end on a note that while AI can mimic love and friendship, it then forces us to re-examine what we fundamentally need as humans. Real human connection has qualities, physical presence, genuine empathy, unpredictability that machines can't fully replicate, at least not yet. And how we integrate AI into our emotional lives without losing those human essentials is a challenge I think society is just beginning to navigate. I hope that you come away from this informed about the phenomena of AI companion relationships, moved by the human stories, and ponder the profound questions that I raised by this blend of technology and emotion. If you got anything out of this episode, don't forget to subscribe, follow the podcast on all the platforms where you get your podcast from, and consider sharing it to someone you think might find it interesting. And don't forget to leave some feedback. I would love to hear what you have to say about this topic. Until next episode, take care of your mind, body, and soul.